Hey, it's Baja Nicole, and we're back with another episode of Your LexPD. We are in our third month of the new year, March, and we're doing episode 6.
Crazy. It went fast, didn't it?
Go
I'm
very
having fun with it. Are you?
I am too.
Great. Well, this month is our exclusive launch of the Unsolved Homicide website. And we're actually going to do the launch right here on Your LexPD, where people can get more information about how to give tips for unsolved homicides that have occurred in Lexington over the last many, many years.
Yeah. We will be talking with Detective Travis Holt with Robbery Homicide and Detective Kristen Klingshern with Crime Stoppers. Please join us.
All right, we're here today with Detective Travis Holt. And Travis is with the Robbery Homicide Unit, going to be leading up the website that we're going to be talking about today. So thanks for joining us today, Travis.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
We're going to ask you maybe a little bit about yourself before we get started. So how long have you been with the police department and what have you done since you've been here?
I started my policing career in 2009 at another agency. Worked there a couple years. Started here in Lexington in 2013. Since I've been here, I've been assigned to the Bureau of Patrol. Assigned to several different task forces while I was a patrol officer. And then I went to the Robbery Homicide Unit in 2016. And I've been there ever since.
All right. And outside the police department, I know I get the opportunity to work with Travis because he's also in the air support unit. So when we get down to the initiative that we're going to be talking about, the Unsolved Homicide website, where did this all start?
This actually started, I would say, a long time ago between several detectives within the Robbery Homicide Unit. We just saw the need for it with technology, with the amount of people that utilize the internet, the city's website, that sort of thing. We just kind of collectively agreed that there needed to be some sort of website developed.
So how do you start a homicide investigation?
Well, generally speaking, the supervisors in the Robbery Homicide Unit will get notified by either a patrol supervisor, someone there at the scene. Once that notification is made, the next up detective or the detective that is assigned for the next homicide will respond, and depending on the circumstances, depending on the setting, the location, that's going to dictate the amount of detectives that will respond. Most of the time, I would say there's a large majority of the Robbery Homicide Unit that will respond when a homicide occurs. Once we arrive on scene, it's very basic stuff in a way. It's talking to people, it's knocking on doors, it's collecting evidence. Detectives are collectively discussing circumstances, discussing what that person said, what this person said. And then in today's day and age, we utilize a lot of technology that we have here at the police department, examining cell phones, examining computers, reviewing surveillance footage. So it's old school police work with kind of taking advantage of the technology that's out there today. Once we do that, it's just putting a puzzle together, and we try to get on it quick. Time is our friend in the initial stages of the investigation, and then obviously in the unsolved aspect of it, time is also a key factor in that. So
how far back are we looking as far as the website? How far are we going to go back with unsolved homicides?
So we have unsolved homicides that go back to 1973. We are trying to expand that to kind of encapsulate all unsolved homicides that has happened here in Lexington. But to get it up and running and solidified with some continuity, we're starting from 1973, 1974 and going till today.
One of the things, and you were talking about investigations and how you do it, one of the themes that always comes up is technology. So I would assume that investigating a homicide in 2024 is going to be far different than investigating a homicide in the 1970s.
Absolutely. So one of the first things that I do when I look at an unsolved homicide, especially one that has some age on it, is I'll go through the case file. And it always interests me to see just how different policing is today as it was opposed to 30 years ago. At its core, it's still the same work, But just the subtle differences, like the practices with the media that we do today, are way different than they were in 1975. Obviously, the technology that we use to process evidence, send stuff to the laboratory, the crime lab, there was none of that in 1975 again. So, yeah, it's the same work, trying to accomplish the same goal. It's changed so much. Just within the last 15 years, it's changed a lot.
So we talked about what starts a homicide investigation. So once you do the initial investigation, going through, what then changes it from a solved homicide to unsolved?
So obviously a solved homicide would be a case in where we arrest a suspect, and then it goes to the judicial system for trial and that sort of thing. What classifies an unsolved homicide would be a case that an extended period of time has elapsed since the homicide occurred. And generally the practice is that if the initial investigator or investigators that were assigned the case initially are either no longer at the police department, either retirement, they've taken a different assignment, promotion, that sort of thing, just no longer in the robbery homicide unit. So those cases just get reassigned so that they are actively investigated, and if we receive any information on those cases, they'll be followed up with.
We know you and I had a conversation a few weeks ago, and we were talking about how it is important to the detectives to solve these cases. And we know it's important for the police department because we want victims' families to have closure, right? But you all take it personal as well.
Absolutely. It's a very heavy burden to not have a case with resolution. It's hard for us as investigators to go to a family and say, hey, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer. We would love to have an answer. And I know that pretty much goes for everybody in the unit. Any homicide detective I've ever worked with, there's always a level of compassion and empathy for the family. And frankly, it sucks when you can't solve a homicide, on multiple different levels. Not just for the family, but for us as investigators, for the community. It eats at you. So.
And I know, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I know we worked patrol together before you came up to the Detective Bureau, and we've worked some cases, some shootings, some homicides, and one of the things that we had trouble with sometimes is citizens giving us information, especially out there on the scene. They don't usually want to be seen talking with us. With a website, is there a way for them to give those tips without necessarily being seen talking to the police, but still giving that information that could possibly help solve one of your unsolved homicides?
Absolutely. Part of the development of this website with the people that are responsible for developing it, we wanted the ability for someone in the public, someone in the community, to not only bring the attention to these cases that they need and understand they still are open homicides that we are actively investigating and want information on. But yes, there's a portion of the website that will allow someone to provide information. They can type up something as simple as, they were there, they know a suspect, they saw this, they heard that. There's an option for it to be anonymous. Obviously, we as investigators would like for that person that's submitting that tip to at least provide some way that we can contact them to ask any follow-up questions. But with the unsolved homicides particularly, any information is helpful. So yes, there is a portion of the website that is dedicated to tips and information and that sort of thing.
So as we take a look at the website and see how to enter the tips, and what are some of the specifics that you really would like folks to let us know?
The biggest thing is that if for some reason when the homicide occurred, if they've never spoken to a police officer and they have information that they think is relevant or is important, even if it's something that they may not think is important, it could be huge to us. We would just like that person to reach out. If they've spoken to the police before about the homicide, again, going back and re-interviewing witnesses is crucial in most homicide investigations, especially the unsolved homicides. If an extended period of time has passed and they provided any information to the police department, if their contact number has changed, anything pertinent to the investigation that is going to assist us in bringing some closure and justice to the victims' families in these cases, that's the type of information we want. I don't want to say that, well, this information isn't helpful, I don't want that. No, we will kind of sift through what information is helpful, what can be put on the back burner and say, that doesn't kind of go along with what we already know. We just want information.
Okay. So not only can folks put the tips in this website, but they can also go to the Crime Stoppers website. So let's take a look down that road.
So we are back, and we are here with Detective Kristen Klingshirn with Crime Stoppers. And Crime Stoppers is under the Chief's office, correct?
It is.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became to be in that position.
So I've been with the department for about 10 years. Of course, I started on patrol. After patrol, I went to personal crimes, which is the robbery homicide unit. I spent about 4 years in robbery homicide before I moved to the Chief's office as the Crime Stoppers detective. And basically what that means is I am the liaison between the department and the Crime Stoppers board.
How are the different ways that someone can give a tip besides actually speaking to an officer?
There's a few different ways for Crime Stoppers. So they can go to Bluegrass Crime Stoppers. There's a link on their webpage, as well as some highlights of crimes of the week, most wanted people, different cases that we feature. There's a link on there to P3, which is the tip software. They can click that link and then they can go ahead and just submit a tip anonymously. They can also call the tip line. It's 24 hours. If I'm not in my office to answer the phone, it does go to a call center and they'll go ahead and take the information for them anonymously as well.
And tips are important in any investigation, right? Whether it's the unsolved homicides or whether it's any of the other variety of cases that you work. So what kind of tips are we looking for? Even something simple can help, right?
Absolutely. So I do a weekly crime of the week, and I feel like I say this almost every week when people ask me, what information are we looking for? Anything, because really I don't know what that detective already knows. So something that may seem minor to somebody else may be that last piece of evidence or something that points them in a different direction that they need to go. So I kind of go by, if it's something that it seemed odd enough that it stood out to you, that you noticed it, go ahead and submit it. Whether you doubt yourself or not, let us make that determination as to whether it's important or not.
So you had mentioned earlier about a payout. So can you go into a little more detail about that?
Absolutely. So Crime Stoppers loves to reward people for assisting the police department in submitting information. So if your information leads to an arrest, they have kind of a point system, and depending on the charges, the more serious the charges, the more the payout will be, and Crime Stoppers will go ahead and pay you for the information you submitted.
And can they do that anonymously?
Yes. So there is a whole system.
And still get paid?
Yes. Yes. There's a whole system in place to ensure that you can remain anonymous.
All right. So information is important, whether it's Unsolved Homicide website or whether it's Crime Stoppers. You definitely can help us solve these cases.
It was so good talking to Detective Holt and Detective Klingshirn as far as, about the unsolved homicides and Crime Stoppers.
It's a great new initiative a police department has, and also Crime Stoppers. And remember, this is how you can help us solve a lot of these crimes in Lexington.
Absolutely. So what are we talking about next month?
All right, so we've talked a lot about how people may be interested in law enforcement as a career and what a great place this is to work. So next month, we're going to go to the training academy, and we're going to be talking to our recruiters about how to get hired, what it takes to get hired, and what's involved a little bit after you get hired.
Nice. So join us next month for another episode of Your LexPD.